Deion Sanders' first year at Colorado feels like a movie. It just seems like they just find ways to win. That Colorado State game was one of the best games that I've ever watched. I mean, at one point, it seemed like Colorado was going to get upset by their arch nemesis, Colorado State. And then Deion Sanders, final drive, engineers a 98-yard touchdown drive plus the 2-point conversion to send it to overtime. Then they get it done in double OT. You look at Colorado and the success that they have had so far up to this point under Coach Prime, it's not a mistake. This team is not fluky. This team, they are led by one player, and that one player is Deion Sanders. Travis Hunter, he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks due to that dirty hit that he received from Colorado State. But Colorado, if you're looking for when this team is finally going to end up losing, there's a chance that it might not happen. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of Disney movies, but Disney movies always seem to have a magical feel. You ever watch Remember the Titans? That football movie that had Denzel Washington as the head coach. And, they didn't really want a black coach, and they were looking for any reason to fire him, but they just kept on winning and winning and winning. That's kind of what Colorado is doing right now. Nobody expected this team to be as good as what they are right now, other than me and a couple of other people. And you guys already know, I told you guys all last season, and you can remember this when this season concludes, that I said Colorado was at least going to be a 6-7 win team or better this year, and they already have tripled their win total from last year. They're at 3 wins. There's not a single team on Colorado's schedule that they don't have a chance at beating. You keep saying they don't have the talent, they don't have the guys up front, and some of that is true. But you know who they do have? Deion Sanders, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And something that college football has showed us over times is that even if you have an average team, if you have a great quarterback can elevate an average roster in college football. Look at North Carolina. They're doing the same thing with Drake May. They can't run the ball. They don't really got a great defense neither. That team is Drake May or die, and they're winning games. The same way Colorado State is kind of winning games. It's the same way UNC is with Drake May. Deion Sanders has arguably played like the best quarterback in the country. Now, whether he's better than Caleb Williams, that's a discussion for another day. But do you know that this brother is completing 78.8% of his passes? This brother nearly has a completion percentage of 80. Do you not know how rare that is? I'm looking at Deion Sanders, 10-1 touchdown interception ratio, averaging 40-plus pass attempts per game under constant duress. I mean, he's been playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football, and it doesn't matter. You want to know why? Because he's just that dude. He's just that good. When you have a Deion Sanders, it's going to allow you to compete in games that people think you don't have a chance at being able to be competitive in, like this week against Oregon. Colorado is a 20-point underdog. I don't think Colorado's about to get blown out by Oregon. You see, every single week, the same story keeps getting repeated about Colorado over and over again. They're not good enough to compete with this team. They don't got enough up front. And what do? They beat you, and they find ways to win doing it. Deion Sanders is one of those guys that you either love him or you hate him. But whether you like him or not, you got to give Deion Sanders a lot of respect and props for what he's done up there in Boulder, Colorado. Like, we got to stop some of the hate. You got to realize that what Colorado is doing is kind of magical. And their first 3 games kind of have given me a little bit of a hint that this is going to be one of those seasons where Colorado possibly could win maybe 9-10 games. And nobody could ever see it coming. Like, just look at how that Colorado State game went. Think about their week 1 win on the road against TCU. This is one of those storybook kind of seasons that you would make a Disney movie about. That Colorado State game, Travis Hunter gets knocked out due to a dirty hit. I mean, that's one of those kind of plays and injuries that loses the morale and soul of your locker room. Colorado, after they lost Travis Hunter, they could have underplayed and underperformed because of that. But they got more locked in because of it, and it was a really chippy game. But this is a team that responds incredibly well to tough moments in adversity. Every single time the game is on the line, Colorado comes through and they make big plays. You see, you don't got to like Deion Sanders, but you at least have to give him props for what he's done at a school that has had a losing record for nearly 2 decades. I mean, Colorado hasn't been this relevant since when they had Eric Bieniemy at running back? Colorado season, man, just feels like a Disney movie. And you guys listening to this in the chat right now, let me know if I'm tripping, but this just seems like a really magical season that Colorado is having right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this team in the Pac-12 championship. These are one of those teams that you can't judge off talent and how they compare to other teams who may be talented than them. This is one of those teams that it doesn't matter about the talent. It doesn't matter about the recruiting rankings. What matters is anytime this team has a ball game that they have to play, they find ways to win it. It may not be pretty. It may be a little ugly. It may be a little close than what you expect, especially when you're playing against schools like Colorado State. But when you have a roster that is going over this much turnover, it's not always going to look pretty all the time. All that matters at the end of the day, if you're Deion Sanders, is walking away with the win. And you got to wonder eventually who's going to end up beating Colorado. I mean, it's easy to say Oregon and USC are going to beat Colorado, but that's just because you're judging the games based on what you see on paper. Nobody saw TCU losing to Colorado on paper. Nobody saw Colorado even being a 3-win team on paper for the most part. If you thought Colorado was going to be good enough to be bowl eligible this year, it's because you believed. You believed in Coach Prime. You believed in the process. You watched and you know what Coach Prime does everywhere he goes. He wins. And it rubs people the wrong way how he goes about doing it. Yeah, sometimes it may seem like he's a little cocky or a little bit arrogant and braggadocious. He does tend to make everything a TV show. But that's what college football is about. It's about drawing viewership. It's about getting fans engaged. And that's what Deion Sanders has done. And say anything that you want to negatively about Deion Sanders, he may talk a lot, but he backs it up. And I think that's what makes people so upset about Deion Sanders, is that you hate somebody who always comes out on top. It just happens to be that Deion Sanders is at Colorado, and this isn't just a hype train. This is actually a legit good team. This is one of those seasons that you guys are going to look back on. You're going to be like, damn, like, who else can replicate this? Nobody else is going to be able to replicate this kind of season at a program that has the kind of history that Colorado has had over the last couple of decades. You want to know why? Because not everybody has a Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is a once-in-a-lifetime head coach. He's the only head coach in America who doesn't have the resume of a Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban, or Kirby Smart, and yet he can go into a living room of any 5 or 4-star recruit that's recruiting he can go into the living room and talk to any recruit that has interest in Alabama, Ohio State, or any of the big boy schools. You want to know why? Because he's Deion freaking Sanders, dog. Everybody knows who Deion Sanders is. When Nick Saban and Kirby Smart walk into a recruit's living room, their moms probably don't even know who the hell they are. All they know is that they're football coaches. But when Deion Sanders knocks on your door, everybody in your family knows who Deion Sanders is. Your mom probably had a crush on Deion Sanders in that ball head when he was playing football. Deion Sanders, you know what he can do is something that a lot of new head coaches don't have the ability to do. He's really charismatic, but the thing that really stands out the most about Deion Sanders is how he bonds with his players. It's not really a team, it's really a family. And he really goes about it that way. He's hugging players on the sideline. He's coaching guys up instead of yelling and cursing guys out. He's actually coaching them up. I remember when Torrey Holton, number 14, that Colorado State wide receiver who was doing work all afternoon on Colorado secondary, he got a touchdown late and he's coaching up the cornerback who gave up the touchdown. Hey, fool, like, you got to be inside. That's good coaching. Deion Sanders not just is a great motivator, but he's a great leader of men. He's a great head coach. He has his son at quarterback who's absolutely carrying Colorado on his back. And even though they don't have Travis Hunter, they still have a chance at being able to beat Oregon and USC and whoever else without him because they got Shedeur. Shedeur is the heart and soul of that team. They got Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, and Deion Sanders all on the same team. You talk about leaving a legacy. The dad's the head coach and his two sons are two of the best players on the team? That's crazy. There's no way you can't tell me that this season is not going to be magical for Colorado. You talk about leaving a legacy. When Deion Sanders leaves this earth, he's going to have Shedeur. He's going to have Shiloh. And he's going to have the memory of his first season at Colorado. And that's something that a lot of us are not going to forget. A lot of people are going to remember what Colorado has done and what they're going to do from this point further. This is a season that could be really magical for the Colorado Buffaloes football program, year one under Deion Sanders. There's not a single game they don't have a chance at winning. I mean, yeah, they may not have a defense, but who else in the Pac-12 has a incredibly great defense? We still don't know if Washington and Oregon and USC have great defenses. They haven't been tested. This is the best offense that Oregon has faced up to this point. And even then, a couple of weeks ago, they were getting 30 hung on them by Texas Tech with ease. There's not a team that Colorado doesn't have a shot at beating. Nobody in the Pac-12 is really playing outstanding defense outside for a couple of great teams. If you have a great quarterback and you can score 30, 40 a game, there's not a game that you can't win. This season is going to be special for the Colorado Buffaloes. Keep your eyes out for them, man.